Good morning. Going to call this meeting of the Maricopa County Board of Adjustment to order. Rosalie, would you please do roll call?
Chairman Loper.
Present.
Vice Chair Person.
Present.
Member Cardin.
Present.
Member Clapp. Member Ward.
Present.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed now with the announcements. This meeting has been noticed in accordance with the open meeting laws of ARS 38-431. Agendas are available within 24 hours of each meeting in the Maricopa County Planning and Development Office, and are also available on the Planning and Development website 1 week prior to the hearing at www.maricopa.gov/planning. With respect to the hearing process, cases will be considered in the order they appear on the agenda unless otherwise agreed to by the board. For each case, the applicant will be given a set amount of time to present their testimony. Any witness wishing to give testimony in a particular case shall notify the board of such interest. This shall be done by filling out a speaker's card if you're here in person. Looks like this. Rosalie can help you out, but make sure if you want to speak in person, you fill this out. Or registering a desire to comment as noted on the published agenda. Also, at the appropriate time for each case, the chair will ask those attending in person and online who wish to speak to a case to raise their hand by clicking on that icon on the webinar screen. Staff will provide the chair with the names of persons who have registered and noted a desire to comment, and those registered participants who have raised their hand. The chair will call on each named participant one at a time. Such testimony shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. However, the actual amount of time allowed for testimony shall be at the discretion of the board chair. The chairman will conduct the hybrid in-person and virtual public hearing according to the bylaws and according to the rules established by the chair regarding public comment. All votes will be done by roll call vote only, and the chair will verbally identify the specific members responsible for all motions and seconds. Move on to the approval of the minutes from August 15, 2024. Are there any changes, revisions, comments from anyone? All right, seeing the nodding heads, no. Those are considered approved. There's nothing on our code compliance review agenda, so we'll move on to the continuance agenda.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. BA 2024-026 is for 202 and Higley Digital Billboard Variance. Excuse me. The applicant has requested a continuance of the case until October 17th of 2024. No action is required by the board.
Thank you. Appreciate the update. Move on to the regular agenda. Item number 2 is BA 240002. That property. I'll screw it up, so I won't try.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. Case BA 24002 is for the D. Antinous property in Supervisor District 4. The site is located at 32916 West Harkovar Street in the Wakenburg area, is zoned RU43 and is just over an acre and a half. The request would include the following: a reduced front yard setback of 24 feet measured at the edge of the 33-foot patent easement recorded at the southern end of the lot, where a 40-foot front yard setback measured after the patent easement is the minimum permitted per Maricopa County Zoning Ordinance. The lot is unremarkable other than some sloping grades at the rear of the lot and the 33-foot patent easement recorded at the southern end of the lot. The residence and other accessory structures meet the total setback requirement of 73 feet from the southern property line. That includes that patent easement. Based upon what the applicant has submitted and the staff analysis in this report, staff offers the following findings. Staff cannot identify a peculiar condition facing the property different than other lots in the zoning district. Any requirement of the staff cannot identify any requirement of the ordinance that, when applied to a peculiar condition, has created an unnecessary hardship that prevents reasonable development of the property. The variance approval is not necessary for reasonable development of the property, as it is already developed with a single family residence and some accessory structures, meeting this required setback. The applicant has failed to demonstrate the general intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance will be preserved. The variance approval would impede the purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance that seeks to adequately separate structures from dedicated and legal right-of-way. The property owner has not reached administrative exhaustion as he may seek to abandon all or a portion of the patent easement, thus lessening the minimum required setback from its current 73 foot. And further, if the board finds that the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and it has stated its findings on the record, the grant of this variance will memorialize the following. A variance approval establishes a 24-foot front south setback line for APN 505-42012C. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Great presentation. I just have, you answered my one. There is the administrative remedy for the patent easement. And then clearly is evidenced in the aerial photo, the setback is an acknowledgement of the existing structures, correct?
That's right.
Not for new structure.
This will be for a new structure.
For new
correct?
structure.
Yes.
The existing structures, it would memorialize them, or are they okay?
No, this would be for the reduced setback for a proposed structure within the front yard setback.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other board members have any questions of staff at this time? Seeing none, thank you very much. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant or applicant's representative in attendance? Or, okay, I see hands raised in the back. Could you come up, please? And make sure that you fill out the white card that I talked about a little bit ago to fill out so you could speak. You could do it after you talk. Go ahead and give us your name, please, for the record.
I'm Anthony D'Antenis, the homeowner.
I'm Eric Roberts, the contractor.
Go ahead and explain why the request for the variance and why you desire it.
All of the extra other areas on the lot are on a slope, and there'd be a whole lot of fill required to try to build another structure. This is the one flat area on the lot to build it without a lot of extra expense and dirt bringing in, which wouldn't be really aesthetically pleasing out there. That's the main reason that we'd like to build it where it is and request the variance.
Anything else from either of you at this time?
We weren't aware of any type of administrative resolution for the patent easement. I didn't even know that was a possibility or what even that entails. So
I would encourage you, regardless of what our decision is, to talk to staff about that. Just doesn't help you to have an easement that grants somebody else authorization to use part of your own property, especially if you aren't clearly aware of it. But that's a whole other process, but it may come into bearing for this. All right. Any of the board members have questions of the applicant or speaker? All right, seeing none, go ahead and hang tight. We may have other questions for you. I'm sorry. Oh, Craig, you had your hand raised. I apologize. Go ahead.
Thank you. It was a tentative raise, so it's all right. You overlooked. I'm curious. I don't know that I have anything showing, and maybe it doesn't matter, but what you're trying to build and where you're trying to build it.
It's, if you see the overhang horse stall to the west of the house, it would be right in front of it in that opening there. There might be a horse trailer there right now in the picture, the overhead picture. My contention was to put like a little hay barn there and a tack room. That was the structure I'm going to put there. No running water, just electric to have lights in there and to utilize that spot. The rest of the property is all downhill, and I really can't. I've looked around. I can't put it anywhere else on the property, and it is a hardship because I don't have the space for it.
And is there septic somewhere? Are you septic or on sewer?
I'm septic. My septic is in front of my house, which is to the south, which does not affect that at all. It has
Okay.
no bearing on that.
Thank you.
Any other board members have any questions? I do have one more. When was the home built, or these structures?
The home built was in, I believe, 1997 or 98. From my property line actually goes across the roadway, another 12 more feet. So in the event, it's a dead end. there's only 12 homes on it. There's really, and the neighbors privately maintain it. It's not maintained by the town or the county. We just chip sealed it last year. So if they had to widen the road, they're more than welcome, obviously, to use the extra that I do have. But in 26 years, there's never been a need for it, and I don't see in the future. The only people that come up and down that road is residents and Amazon.
All right, thank you very much. See no other questions I mentioned, go ahead and hold tight. Yeah, if you could hand those, Tom, could you grab the cards or?
We didn't fill them out yet. We're going to fill them out.
Oh, okay,
Bring them
okay, I
down.
thought you were saying you were. Yeah, please do. Make sure we get those. All right, this is a public hearing, as I mentioned. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, is there anybody online?
Chairman, there's no one online.
All right, I'm going to go ahead then and close the public hearing and turn it over to the board for discussion and or a motion. This is in District 4, which is my district, but I'm always appreciative if somebody other than the chair makes the motion. Lacking that, I will, but my preference. I will say that I would encourage the applicant to get the patent easement abandonment processed. You may or may not be successful in that, but at least you gain full use of that property. And because if the patent easement goes away, there wouldn't be the need, I don't suspect, for the variance. I am in favor of granting the variance just as well. Those are my only comments. Anybody else? Member Person.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. I think hopefully you can get that patent easement removed, but if it stays in place, I consider it to be a peculiar condition along with the topography. So I move that we approve case BA 240002.
We have a motion for approval by Member Person. Is there a second? Member Cardin? Second by Member Cardin. Rosalie?
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you. Congratulations and good luck. And then make sure you get those speaker request cards when you can. All right, move on to the next item on the agenda, BA 240007, the Long property. Nick?
Thank you, Chairman Loper, members of the board. Case BA 240007 is a request to establish a front setback of 12 feet on the Long property where 40 feet is the minimum required in the Rural 43 zoning district. The parcel was created in 1972 as Lot 66 of the Sabrosa 2 subdivision and meets all Rural 43 intensity of use regulations. A building permit for a single-family manufactured home was issued in 2009. Next slide, please. So the applicant is requesting this variance to permit the owners to develop a detached accessory shade structure to accommodate an RV. The shade structure would measure 38 feet by 24 feet and would be located immediately west of the existing residence. Next slide, please. There are topographical limitations that impact the property, most of which is encumbered by floodplain associated with Skunk Creek. Although the peripheries of this floodplain are 100-year flood zones and are buildable, much of the property is floodway within which enclosed structures cannot be built. This forces development toward the northern end of the property. Additionally, most of the area along the east lot line features hillside slopes exceeding 15%. Neither the existing residence nor the proposed shade structure are in this hillside area, so neither are subject to hillside development standards. Next slide, please. As most of the property is encumbered by variable terrain, including hillside slopes, as well as the floodplain and floodway, these topographical features may be considered peculiar conditions to the extent that they significantly limit where development is feasible. However, the existing residence demonstrates that variance was not necessary to develop a primary use of the property. As such, neither the peculiar conditions themselves nor the enforcement of Rule 43 standards creates an unnecessary hardship. This is further reinforced by the alternative locations available to the owners for placing an RV shade structure without variance to setbacks or other standards. One such alternative is just to the south of the residence and northeast of the floodway. Since development of the property is feasible without need for variance, it can be concluded that the granting of the requested variance would fail to preserve the general intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance. If the board finds that the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and has stated its findings on the record, The grant of this variance will memorialize the following. Item A, variance approval establishes a 12-foot west setback for APN 202-21-131. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Nick. Great overview of the property and the encumbrances on it. Are there any questions by any of the board members of staff at this time? All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the property owner, applicant, or applicant representative in attendance? If you could come up and provide your name. Did you fill out a white speaker request card?
I will.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Go ahead, give us your name and then go ahead with the presentation.
My name is Richard Long. I'm the property owner. Some of the things that have not been taken into consideration is the septic system sits directly in front of the house and runs out into the property, causing an issue with trying to get power anywhere else on the property. When my father comes in, we need a place to park his RV where we have access to the septic system and power. That is all on the west side of the house. The portions that they have stated towards the southern end of the property, that is very uneven. Yes, it has a lot of stuff parked on it right now, but it's very uneven. And the people who brought in the fill before brought in a lot of old concrete with rebar in it. Therefore, removing that and putting in something that we could actually deal with is exorbitant in cost. And those are the primary reasons that we want to put it over there. And also, there's no impact on any of our neighbors. Across the way to the west is the wash. Nobody can build there. To the north, the property owner, he doesn't have a problem with it. And to the south is Shangri-La Resort. And I have all the property between that section and their resort. And behind me is a hill. So the structure is going to affect no one except us if we can't get it.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions of the applicant by any of the board members? Member Person.
Hi, Mr. Long. I am having a hard time reading the map, even though I have my glasses on, but it looks like in the proposed location, there's also a well.
Yes.
Okay, so what's happening to that, or is it just staying in place and you're building around it?
Yeah, it won't affect anything.
Okay.
It will just, because there'll be a pole in the ground approximately, I don't know, 6 or 8 feet from the well platform, which is probably 6 feet by 6 feet around the well, the concrete pad around the well. So it'll have no impact on the well whatsoever.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Person. Are there any questions by any of the other board members? All right, we may have other questions for you, so stay close to the podium. Don't forget to fill out the white speaker request form. Is a public hearing? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, is there anybody online? No one online.
Chairman, there's no one online wishing to speak.
All right, go ahead then and close the public hearing and turn it over to the board for discussion and or a motion. It's in District 3, which is Member Clapp's district, and she's not able to, but you, my bad. Okay, go right ahead.
Well, I'm not seeing anyone else clamoring to speak, but I'm inclined to move forward to approve this, and I would make a motion that we approve BA 0007, subject to the language outlined in the staff report.
We have a motion to approve by Member Person. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Member Cardin. Rosalie, when you can, please take roll call.
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Congratulations. All right, move on to item number 4, BA 240010, the STS Trust Property. And turn it back over to you again, Nick.
Thank you, Chairman Loper. Case BA 240010 is a request to establish a street side setback of 8 feet on the STS Trust property where 20 feet is the minimum required in the Rural 43 zoning district. Next slide, please. So the parcel was created in 2003 via minor land division, but meets all Rural 43 intensity of use regulations. A building permit for a single family residence was issued that year. Next slide, please. So the property features an access easement along the north and west lot lines with Blue Eagle Lane along the north and 12th Avenue along the west. Both segments of this easement measure 20 feet wide, but whereas the west lot line forms the center line of 12th Avenue, Blue Eagle Lane is located entirely within the subject site. As such, the 20-foot street side setback must be added to the width of the easement. Next slide, please. So the owners are requesting this variance to permit development of a detached RV garage on the north side of the existing residence. The easement for Blue Eagle Lane would require the garage to be set back at least 40 feet from the north lot line. If approved, the requested variance would enable the owners to build the garage up to 28 feet from the north lot line. However, staff is unable to identify a peculiar condition of the property, which is flat, rectangular in shape, and features no significant topographical features that would restrict development. The access easement along the north and west lot lines is not unusual for parcels in Maricopa County. Staff is also unable to identify an unnecessary hardship created by the enforcement of Rural 43 standards. The existing residence demonstrates that development of a primary use of the property was feasible without variance, and furthermore, the owners have alternative options for developing a detached RV garage on the property without variance to setbacks or other standards. Such alternatives include reducing the width of the garage or relocating it to the south side of the residence. Even if such alternatives were not available, the development of a primary use of the site demonstrates that no unnecessary hardship exists, as the owners are able to enjoy productive use of their land. For this reason, the granting of the requested variance would fail to preserve the general intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance. However, if the board finds that the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and has stated its findings on the record, the grant of this variance will memorialize the following. Item A, variance approval establishes an 8-foot north street side setback for APN 211-50-033G. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Great overview. Are there any questions of staff at this time on the presentation or on this case? All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and open a public hearing. Is the applicant, property owner, or applicant's representative in attendance? If you could come up, please, to the podium. Did you fill out a white speaker card?
No, but I will.
Please. If there's anybody else on any of the remaining cases, make sure to fill out one of the speaker request cards, please. Go ahead, provide your name, and then give your presentation.
Tony Smith, property owner. We're choosing the location of this garage. It's not an RV garage. It's just a single-story, 3-car garage. It has no RV storage whatsoever. It will not work on the south side of the house, as would require lots of fill due to flood. It's hard to see in this picture, but the house is raised probably 18 inches, 2 feet from that RV gate. Also, Blue Eagle is only an access and egress for the 4 properties there, which we have permission from all property owners that they are okay with the garage location and the design. It still gives the utility easement plenty of room to access their lines if need be. Let's see. And that's it. So we consider Blue Eagle as more of a private drive. It only feeds those 4 lots, 2 of which we own. And the other 2 owners, like I say, have no problems with the garage. They've signed off and agreed to it. And that's really about all.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions of the applicant from any of the board members? I do have one. So it's going to be a single, or it's going to be just a typical garage 3-car, you said.
Yeah.
Is it designed to attach to the house in such a way that provides direct access?
No, it's detached from the house.
Detached entirely, okay.
Yep, and it'll actually match the existing house front
Okay,
aesthetically.
that was said. Thanks for reiterating that. All right, any other questions? Seeing none, go ahead and we may have more questions for you. As I mentioned, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing no one, is there anyone online?
Chairman, we're not aware of anyone online.
All right, no one online. I'll go ahead and close the hearing. For discussion and or a motion, this is also in District Number 3.
I personally consider these sites that have the corner lot and the easements to be a peculiar condition. So I would move that we approve case BA 240010, subject to the language outlined in the staff report.
We have a motion for approval by Member Person. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Member Cardin. Rosalie, when you get an opportunity, take roll call.
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Congratulations. Make sure that you get that speaker request card turned in. Thank you. Good luck with your project. Item number 5, BA 240013. Mr. Mueller, Joe.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the
Daniel.
board.
Okay.
Case BA 240013 is for the 9301 East Main Street property in Supervisor District 2. The site is located at 9301 East Main Street in the Mesa area. Site is zoned C3 at the northern 200 feet, and the southern half is zoned multifamily R3. The request proposes a chain link fence with vinyl slats to serve as site screening where a block wall is otherwise required for any commercial uses proposed adjacent a residential zone. The applicant has submitted a concurrent plan of development for manufactured home sales on the site. Staff notes that at pre-application meeting PA 2024-073, staff recommended that the applicant seek a zone change to change the entire site zoning to C3. Doing so would eliminate the zoning district boundary line that bisects the property and would negate the requirement for screening through the center of the site altogether. After reviewing the submission, staff is unable to identify a peculiar condition of the property as it is of regular rectangular shape and is void of any notable physical features. And further, if the board finds that the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and has stated its findings on the record, the grant of this variance will memorialize the following. Variance approval establishes a minimum screening requirement of 6-foot chain link fence with vinyl slats along the zoning district boundary line separating the C3 and R5 zoning districts on an interior to APN 220-33004C. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Daniel, for pinch hitting for Joe. Are there any questions of Mr. Johnson by any of the board members? Member Person.
Daniel, so you mentioned the point staff raised about rezoning, and sorry if I missed that, but what was the response to that?
This application request.
Okay, so
Vice
he
Chairperson.
wants to try to do this instead of going through
Correct.
the rezoning, which would negate the fence requirement.
That's
Okay,
right.
thank you.
And I do have a question as well. It chain link along surround the entire property, right, with vinyl slats?
No, just
frontage?
along the district boundary
Oh, the
line.
district
Correct.
bisecting the property,
Bisecting the
basically.
property, correct. Chairman, thank you.
So it's interior, nothing on the
That's right.
perimeter. Okay. Makes a difference in my mind. All right, thank you very much, Daniel.
Thanks.
Any other questions of staff at this time? Okay, go ahead and open the public hearing. And I understand, Matt, you're here to speak on behalf of this project, and I will screw up your last name, so I won't try. Go ahead and provide your name, and I've got the speaker request card, and then go ahead with your
Yep,
presentation.
and so we've actually provided a couple pictures so you can see the lot. So we have signed a 10-year lease. So our plan is to be there for 10 years, and down the road, we do intend on using the entire 1.4
Can you raise the microphone, please?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Is that better?
Yeah.
So we do plan on rezoning down the road. Initially, the county came back and said, hey, you have to install this block wall and it has to meet the current requirements. Well, this would essentially be a 9-foot block wall that we would have to take out down the road when we rezone the property. So in the short term, we're just trying to open up. We signed a lease back in January, It's a 10-year lease that gives us the option to renew our lease in 10 years. Obviously we want to use the whole property. So we weren't aware necessarily of the R5 portion in the back at the time of signing the lease. But we want to use it down the road, and we are aware that we will have to rezone the property to use the whole property. The zoning portion, as far as the slatted fence, it won't be visible from the road. Once you install the 5 manufactured homes on the property, you wouldn't see the block wall or the slatted fence in the portion that we're applying for the variance.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions of the applicant for any of the board members? Member Person?
My question's actually for staff or maybe for Wayne. The applicant mentioned a willingness to rezone down the road. So is there a way for us to approve this variance with a requirement that they do the rezone, or change it to like a temporary use permit for the fence?
Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman Person, no. Either the property has peculiar conditions that justify the grant of the variance, or it doesn't. So what you'd essentially be saying, well, it has a peculiar condition, but if they rezone, then the property suddenly loses a peculiar condition. And remember, the condition is not the zoning, it's the physical nature of the property. I think I advised you about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago, of a case we had where the court held that the board does not have statutory authority to put conditions on the grant of a variance. It's either they meet the statutory test or they do not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of the applicant? I do have one, just to confirm my question of Daniel. What if any perimeter screening or fencing exists today? Is there anything?
Existing today, I'm not certain. I might have to ask the applicant.
Well, I was wondering actually if the applicant, if you could speak to that, if you're aware.
Yeah, so there's no screening on the property. From our knowledge, that lot's been used as a sales lot for the past 40 years. And the configuration hasn't changed. Actually, if you look at the aerial, the bottom portion of the property behind that existing block wall, it's the same owner. There is a block wall. So, down the road, our site plan is just to open up. We acknowledge that we have to put in something separating the R5 and the commercial section. But there's no screening. None of the neighboring properties have any screening on their fences as well. And they're C3 as well.
So you just mentioned a block wall. Is that all on the south?
On the south. So if you look at the pictures I attached, there is a block wall separating the landowner's property that we've leased and the property behind it. So at the back of that parcel, there is a block wall. So essentially you'd be putting in a block wall to eventually take it out. And then, once you go through the zoning process, there is a block wall already separating the other residential portion.
Understood. All right, thank you very much. We may have other questions from you. As I mentioned, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, is there anyone online? No one online?
We're not
All right.
aware of anyone.
Thank you, David. Go ahead and close the public hearing and turn this over to the board for discussion and or a motion. This is in District 2. I'm sorry. Yes, District 2. Any comments, discussion, or motion from board? Member Cardin.
Chairman Loper, I'll go with my gut here and just make a motion that we approve BA 240013.
We have a motion for approval by Member Cardin. Is there a second? We have a second for Member Ward. I was wondering if you're going to do it. You can do it for a planning commission item, but you can't do it for the board. Inside joke, sorry. We have a motion and a second. Rosalie, when you get an opportunity, please.
Member Cardin?
Yes.
Member Ward?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson?
Yes.
Chairman Loper?
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you. Good luck with your project. Move on to item number 6, BA 240014, Recreation Centers of Sun City. Daniel, is this you again?
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. Case BA 240014 is for the Recreation Centers of Sun City owned property in Supervisor District 4. The site is located at 12650 North 107th Avenue in the Sun City area and is approximately 22 acres. The site is zoned R16 with the senior citizen overlay and is currently used as a golf course. The request proposes a monument sign setback 5 feet from the right-of-way where a 20-foot street side setback is required for the site. Staff notes that the site has a vast open area along the eastern side of 107th Avenue, and staff has provided concern over future site improvements if a variance is granted to allow a 5-foot street side setback along this right-of-way. After reviewing the submission, staff is unable to identify a peculiar condition of the property as the site is vast and contains room for placement of a monument sign in conformance with the current zoning setback requirements. Further, if the board finds that the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and has stated its findings on the record, the grant of this variance will memorialize the following. A variance approval establishes a 5-foot west setback line for APN 200-83170A. Happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel, for providing that overview. Are there any questions of staff from any of the board members? All right, seeing none, go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant Ben Rivera? I'm going to guess he's online. I don't see anybody in the audience to speak on that. And Ben's online. Go ahead, Mr. Rivera, when you're ready.
Apologies, I have been. There you go.
Yeah, I'm here. How you guys doing?
Good. Go ahead with your, give your name, please, and then go ahead with your presentation.
Name is Ben Rivera. And basically the client who is the Recreation Centers of Sun City, who owns the entire golf course there that you're looking at in the image. They're looking to basically advertise or, direct traffic to their north golf course that is across the street from the proposed location of the directory. And currently it's supposed to be about 20 feet from the property line. And when it's pushed that far back, when you're driving down 107th Avenue, it's just not, visible. They actually got to be turning their head in order to see the sign. So we're proposing, to move the sign 5 feet from the property line there, as you can see in that image there. That's roughly about 5 feet from the back of the sidewalk there for that directory sign.
All right, anything else to add?
Nothing much. It's non-illuminated. It fits the other signage that they have on the property across the street, which was, approved by you guys some years back. And they have the same 5-foot setback from that property line.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions of the applicant by any of the? All right, do we have anyone else in attendance?
Yeah, I'm going to have him check right now. The Hamilton.
Nope, we do have someone online who wishes to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, there is no one online.
Okay. All right, then I'll go ahead and, are there any questions from any of the board members to staff or to the applicant? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Turn this over to the board. It's in District 4, which is my district. Again, I'm appreciative if other board members make a motion. At 10 feet, it would work, but they need 5 feet. And I'm appreciative of the photos and the discussion about the constraints of the property in terms of visibility. And personally don't have an issue with the sign. It looks as though the sign otherwise meets the sign code in terms of dimensions and area.
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay, good. And I'm appreciative that they met that. So I'm in favor of it, but I'll turn it over to the board for discussion and or a motion. Member Person.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously there's reasons why the distances and setbacks exist, but I think for signage, having it too far back, then you can't even see it. So I think it is a challenge. So I would move that we approve case BA 240014, subject to the language outlined in the staff report.
We have a motion for approval by member Person. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by member Cardin. Rosalie, would you please do a roll call vote?
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to the applicant. I'll move on to the final item on the agenda, BA 240015, First Church of Christ. Mr. Schlimm.
Thank you, Chairman Loper. Case BA 240015 is a request to establish a south setback for a freestanding church sign of 2 feet on the First Church of Christ Scientist property, where 20 feet is the minimum required. Next slide, please. So the parcel was created in 1984 via minor land division, but meets all R16 intensity of use regulations. The church was developed in 1986. Next slide, please. So an existing sign is set back 20 feet from the south lot line, but according to the applicant, many visitors have noted that the sign is difficult to view from Orangewood Avenue. The sign is short and faces directly toward the south rather than toward the east and west in the direction of traffic. Visibility is further encumbered by a tree canopy along the south lot line. The church wants to put a replacement sign in a location more readily visible from approaching traffic, hence this request for variance. The new sign would be set back 2 feet from the south lot line, but would meet all other sign regulations and be placed just outside the required site visibility triangle. It would also be dual faced with one side facing the east and the other facing the west. Next slide, please. So staff is unable to identify a peculiar condition of the property, which is flat, rectangular in shape, and features no significant topographical features that have restricted development of a principal use of the property. Furthermore, staff is unable to identify an unnecessary hardship created by the enforcement of the zoning ordinance. The church demonstrates that development of a primary use was feasible without variance, whereas the existing sign demonstrates that variance is not necessary to place one on the lot. Issues concerning visibility could be mitigated with the removal of the existing tree cover, and if this is not desirable, visitors could simply rely on personal navigation aids to direct them to the site. The fact that a primary use of the site exists and has been developed demonstrates that no unnecessary hardship exists, as the owner is able to enjoy productive use of the land. For this reason, granting the requested variance where none is required to ensure productive use of the land would fail to preserve the general intent and purpose of the Maricopa County Zoning Ordinance. However, if the board finds that the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and has stated its findings on the record, the grant of this variance will memorialize the following. Item A, variance approval establishes a south setback for a freestanding church sign of 2 feet for APN 142-25006U. This time I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Nick. I do have a question, and I think the aerial answers it for me, but I want to be sure. Along Orangewood, and I'm familiar with this section, having driven it for a number of years, that canal, I think it's SRP, but there's a drainage lateral runs parallel to Orangewood. That's within the right of way and not in the property?
There is a dip on the property side, but I believe the drainage canal itself is within the right of way.
On the cross section. Thank you. Yeah, I note that the properties, again, driving that area, you can see there's some substantial bridges, I'll call them, for people to be able to get over that. And the right of ways or the roadways push substantially back from the edge of that right of way. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate your time. Is the applicant or applicant representative available? I don't see them in the audience. I believe they're online.
Chairman, they're online. I have them unmuted. Gayla should be able to speak now.
Hi, this is Go ahead with your name and your presentation, please.
This is Gayla Samaripa, and I am a member of this church. our church has been here for about 30 years, and we don't have a typical church structure. We've received feedback that our church looks more like an office building. So we would like to have this sign to show us a little more visibility in the community. As mentioned, we do have a short sign that's facing Orangewood, but that's not really visible from 83rd Avenue, and we would really like to be visible from 83rd Avenue to show our presence in the community. So we've looked at different ways of adding signage, and within the 30 years, we've had a lot of discussion in our church, and we've not been able to come up with any other way than to hopefully put up this sign and make ourselves visible in the community.
All right, thank you. Is that the end of your presentation?
Yes, just basically that we want to really provide our hours and our website and let everybody know. If we were to put our sign within the required sign setback, it takes it all the way up to the edge of the church, which would not make it visible from the street. So that's our main concern. Our main goal is to have signage that everyone can see. And that concludes what I have to say.
All right, thank you very much. Remain online if you can. May have some questions for you. I did mention this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this matter? Do we have anyone else online who wishes to speak? No?
Chairman, there's no one else online.
All right, thank you very much. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Turn it over to the board for discussion and or motion. As with the last case, this is in District 4, which I cover. My comment on this, again, used to drive this stretch of Orangewood a lot for several years. And as you can see in the aerial photo, the distance from the actual roadway to the property lines is significant, number one. Number two, that canal creates somewhat of a barrier, certainly a visible and physical barrier in terms of not just access, but visibility as you try to look at things to the north of that. And I am in favor of their proposed variance. With that, I'll turn it over to the board members for discussion and or motion, please. Not prejudicing anyone, though. Oh, Member Cardin.
I move that we approve VA 240015.
We have a motion for approval by Member Cardin. Do we have a second? Second by Member Ward. Rosalie?
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you very much. Congratulations on your variance. And with that, that's the end of our agenda. Nothing staff needs to bring up. All right. Everybody have a great day and week, and no holidays for the remainder of this month.
Thank you.